Page 33, it says Intro to Regressions. So far, you were given the equation, which we entered into y1. Then you were able to use second trace to extract information about the curve. In this lesson, you will learn to determine the equation that will best model the scenario you're finding the line of best fit. Okay, the curve or the line of best fit. That's what we're going to find today. We will use linear regression, quadratic regression, or cubic regression. And that's about to change, guys. We're going to do more functions after this test, okay? To determine the equation that best models the scenario, okay? To access any of the above regressions, we press Stat Calc. Let's do that real quick. So if you turn on your calculator, find the Stat button. It's right underneath Delete. And then you go sideways to calculate. Press that, and then sideways to calculate. And then you're going to see linear regression, quadratic regression, and cubic regression. And there's more regressions, right, which we're going to explore later on. But for now, you just need to know those three, right? So we're going to select one of them. Only one of them is going to be appropriate for the scenario, okay? Next, we have, this is what it sort of looks like, right? Like if you call a quadratic regression, it needs this. It needs the location of the x values. Anybody remember where we used to put them? L1, right? It's a spreadsheet we're going to use. And the location of the y values, that will be L2. We have to tell the calculator where to find these. And you want the place to store the resulting equation. Not always. When I do keys and whatnot, sometimes I put one in Y1, the other one in Y2, and Y3. I have them all going at the same time. Not recommended, but this is usually what we do, okay? Note that the entries are separated by commas, right? Entries are separated, so there's one there, and there's one there. Very important. No comma at the beginning. That's always important. You will probably get an error if you try that. I haven't tried it, but anyways, steps to perform a regression. In other words, to determine the equation of the parabola. Can we just get rid of the parabola? Just to determine the equation. We don't need, right? We're not specific to a parabola anymore. That was in grade 11. So these are the steps that I recommend you take. You will, if you do this enough, you will find your way. But you turn on plot 1. Let's do that right away all together. This is how you turn on plot 1. You press y equals. Let's clear all the equations that are there right now. Whatever you have, clear it all. We don't want that there. You go to plot 1 at the very top, you hit enter. Okay? Whenever you do a regression, you want that on. So we'll do that. That is done. Then we press stat edit, and we'll enter the x values into L1, the y values into L2. So let's do that right now together. Stat, the button stat you're going to use quite often for regressions. Edit is the very first thing here. That's the one I want you to enter into. And there's a bunch of values that I have. You may probably have values in there too. Do you remember how to clear them? This is how you clear them. Everybody press delete. And then you hit enter. Oh, wait. I just cleared the column. I did that on purpose. Trust me. So to bring that back, everybody with me, stat. And remember, setup editor. You hit enter and enter again. It will reset that column that you just deleted. Okay? So let me do that one more time with you. If you ever delete a column, you go setup editor, you press that, then you go to setup editor, enter, enter one more time. Let's go visit L1 and L2 again. Stat, edit, enter, and there everything is back as it should. So what you really need to do to clear it is, yeah, press clear, go to the top, press clear and enter. Then go to L1, way at the top, the heading, press clear and enter. And now everything is cleared. And that's where we put our X values and our Y values. It's a spreadsheet, right? So it should be all cleared right now. So let's continue. We will then press zoom 9. I will do that with you later. Right now I won't do anything. And we'll be looking at the scatter plot to determine the shape of it. Okay, this is very important. Zoom 9 will tell you, hey, what does this look like? Does that look like a parabola? Does it look like a cubic? Does it look linear? What does it look like? And then we're going to say press stat, calc, linear, quadratic, or cubic regression. It's going to be one of them. Then, you remember this? This kind of scared you probably at first. But this is just to call L1. This here is to call L2. And this whole thing here is to call Y1. Okay, we do all of those, we press those buttons just to call L1, L2, and Y1. And why are we pressing enter, enter, enter? Because in doing so, you will actually execute that regression. You will actually perform the regression. So this is what, if you do a quadratic regression, this is what you should see. You should see this on your calculator. Okay. Okay, let's try this. Put it to the test. So if you get points, guys, you know the X is going to go into L1 and Y is going to go into L2. You know that. No, I'm not going to trick you there. So let's go ahead and do that. Stat, edit. You go here and you have to press negative, not minus. -4, enter. -1, enter. 2, enter. 5, enter, right? So you just enter those values. Make sure you take a second look to make sure you got them right. Then I go over to the left on L2, -5, enter, 2, enter, 1, enter, -8, enter. So you press those, you type those in, and we did already turn on plot 1. We entered our values. Now we're going to press zoom 9. Okay, zoom. What is zoom 9? That's zoom stat right here, the 9th option. And you should see points like this. What does this look like? Quadratic. Does look like a quadratic, right? So what we're going to do then is we're going to make a note here. Scatter plot looks quadratic. Right? Therefore, we're going to go stat calc. That's all I need you to do. Stat calc, and just say we're going to do quadratic regression. Because you're not going to put this sentence down in a bit, right? You're just going to go this, 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 and perform the regression. So if you're follow me with this, what I do now is I go stat calc. You have to pick the right regression. In this case, it's a quadratic. So we pick the 5th option. You hit enter. And it calls it to the main screen. And you need to now tell it where to get the information, right? So you go second, 1, comma. Got it? Second, number 2, to call L2, comma. And now you need to give it a variable. And so think of vars, stands for variable. So press the vars button, so, right? Varsity, I don't know. Y vars, right? Way at the top, I go side arrow to Y variables. And you want to access the function menu. So function, and the first thing is Y1. You can pick from whichever one you want, but I just keep it there. So let's count the enter, right? Enter. Enter. I did press enter 3 times, believe it or not. But anyways, just press enter until it performs the regression. How's that? And so now we copy down that information. So we go y is equal to negative 0 point, I will use 3 decimals. It's x squared. Watch. Follow the format at the top, right? Negative dot x squared plus 0.111x plus 0.2556. 2.556, and there is your quadratic regression. But it gets better than that. I'm asking you to write it down here, but on your calculator, you're going to use all decimals. Okay? So now let's hit graph. Now you can hit graph, and it's actually going to give you the parabola. Now you know you did it right. From time to time, one of these or a couple of these might be off by a little bit. That's okay. If you have one of these points that is like way off, you entered it wrong. Okay, you need to probably go back to, you might have missed a negative, right? So now instead of down here, it's like way up there. So watch the scatter plot to tell you whether or not you're doing it right. If it's a little bit off, it's probably okay, because in real life, it won't always give you a perfect quadratic, right? It will be kind of off, but it will try to find the best curve that fits most, if not all, of the points. Press y equals for one moment here. Y equals, right? You just told quadratic regression, paste your equation into y1. So you should see the whole thing in there. Okay? So now you know you've done it right. And now, guys, it's basically the same thing as before. It's the exact same thing. Now we can find the min, max if there is one, intercepts, y-intercepts, and so forth. Interest of time, I'm just going to give you that today. Okay, we're going to do the cubic that's next. Oops, you don't know it's a cubic, but we're going to do that next. So I'll just give you the answers here. In this case, there is a max only. So we went second trace, just write this down. Second trace max, this is 0.13, 2.56. Okay. X-intercepts, we let y2 equal to 0. Second trace 5, just like before. I actually want to get to word problems tomorrow. That's why I'm kind of just going over this real quick. There are 2 x-intercepts. This is one of them. And the other one is 2.530. Okay. The y-intercept, no calculator required. I'm just going to go and get it off of the equation. So sometimes I use 3 decimals. Sometimes I use 2. In this case, I used all the decimals, but if you wanted to round it to 2 here, that's fine. What is the value of y when x is equal to negative 30? You just go like this. Second trace 1, x is equal to negative 30. I will actually do this with you because there's a problem here that comes up with this one in particular. There's a problem. So can you try that right now? Right, if we go second trace 1 and type in negative 30 for x, I want this to happen, right? I want this to happen. So it says error, invalid, right? Something isn't right here. Like you can't do it. And the first thing I want you to go to is window. Oh, wait, first we do quit. So quit this error. You go to your window and you realize that your x min is negative 4.9 because it used the point you gave it, right, to zoom in. So we're going to go negative, I don't know, I'm going to go negative 50, right? Because you're trying to get negative 30x, right? So you got to go negative 50. Try to graph it. So you went negative 30 here, but you still need to go a little bit further down perhaps. So I'm going to take my window, my y min, I'm going to go negative 50 as well. Okay. So there, now it's probably going to work now. So we're going to go second trace 1, negative 30. Let's try that again. And it did find it. Sorry, it's a little hard to see. But it's still not on your window, but that's okay. As long as it finds it, you're okay. But it's negative 400.78. Okay. So it's negative 30 and negative 400.78. So I will adjust window, right? Adjust window, right? That's a big, make a note of that, because when you flip through it, it will remind you if you get an error, you need to adjust your window. It's just not, the point you're trying to find is not on your window. And that's all. We're good? Blast from the past? Yeah. It's not Throwback Thursdays, but hey, close enough. Determine the equation that best fits the point. So enter these points. The first thing you would want to do, guys, is make sure plot 1 is on, right? Like, let's say you just entered an equation, you did not need plot 1, but now you're performing the regression, make sure it's on. I will clear whatever is in Y1, and now I'm going to enter this information. I'm going to clear both columns, and so -7, enter, -3, 5, 12, 20, and you're better than me at doing this part. Hey, but I'm now texting with both thumbs, okay? So I'm moving up in that respect, okay? So there are my points. I'm gonna do a quick glance to make sure I got that right, because it's very frustrating if you even type one number in wrong, right? It takes half a minute maybe to double check. And now I'm gonna do my scatter plot. How do I do that again? Zoom 9 is what I recommend. You can press graph, but Zoom 9 will zoom into the points that are in statistics. It's actually for statistics that we use that mostly. And there's your resulting scatter plot. You should see a cubic pattern here, right? The bend, the two bends there. Did you see that, or am I just seeing it? Some of you are like, wait a minute, which angle? Maybe this angle, right? Yeah, you should see a cubic here. Linear is just like it's too far off, right? Cubic, like it wouldn't work even if you did this. What about that one, right? This is a cubic scatter plot. Looks cubic. Okay, we put that, and I'll just do one of these here. Okay. It definitely looks cubic to me, right? At the end of the day. And it will have a negative leading coefficient, correct? Or positive, we'll see. The calculator will find out what works best. So you go stat, calculate, you go to cubic regression. So I'll actually tell that. That's the part that I want you to have on there. Stat, calc, I want to see this, cubic regression, because sometimes students pick quadratic. Yeah, they try, right? So you would lose a mark there, but then I have to go back and say, okay, you use quadratic, now I have to check to make sure everything else follows from that. So cubic regression, you do the same thing. Second 1, comma, second 2, comma, vars, y vars, enter, enter, enter. And there it is. Okay, so I'll cover it up here and copy that down. So that's -0.667 x cubed plus 17.780 x squared, right? Because b is in front of the x squared in this case, plus 31 point, that rounds to 5 no matter what you do. So I'll do one of these, right? Plus 289.002. So there is your, on paper, this is what I write down, but really you're using all decimals. Okay. Let's just graph it. Let's see what it looks like. It has a negative leading coefficient as I predicted, right? So there it is. You might have to adjust your window, guys. Some students think Zoom 9 is going to do it. It's going to get you started. You might have to adjust sideways. In this case, it's a very nice window. This one works quite well, except for I don't see my x-intercepts, right? So I'm going to go ahead and adjust that right away. I notice that my y min is above the x-axis, so I'm going to make that negative 150 or something like that. It's always in relation to what else is in there. And there you have it, right? Now you see the one x-intercept and everything else is on there. So let's go ahead and find the mins and the max. I would like to graph this. So just trust me on this. Min, just write this down because I know you're pretty good using your calculator at this point. So just write this down, right? And I went second, trace, min for that, and then the max, the local max, right? Because it doesn't have a true min or a max. That would be 13.91, comma 1405.66, and I went second trace max for that one. Okay, just used the min and the max there. For the x-intercept, I do the same thing as always. I let y2 equal to 0, and then I went second trace intersect, or 5, it's up to you. And I found that one x-intercept out there, and that is 22.18. Just write this down. The y-intercept, I can just copy. It's 289.002. What's the value of x when y is equal to 500? You got to make y2 equal to 500 and second trace 5. That's what I did. And notice that it happens, it's not a word problem, okay guys? It's not a word problem. So you got to include all of it. So there's 1, 2, 3 instances where this happens, right? In this case. So we'll go x is equal to negative 4.76, comma, 3.21, comma, 20.71, right? I will just say this, 3 instances. Okay? So there you have it. And now I'm going to put all of this together and graph it. Do it with me, okay? There may or may not be one of these tomorrow waiting for you. So x and y, okay, as always, I'm using my, based on the x-intercept way out here, it's 22.18. So if I go up by 5, that should do it. That should do it. Right? And I have to do the same thing in the negatives here. Okay? Just like that is fine. For my y scale, if you look at the max way up here, I'm going all the way to 1405. So I'm going to go 500, 1,000, 1,500. Okay, you need to go up by a significant amount. And the same thing goes for the negatives, right? And then plot it. Notice that every line is worth 100 here for me. Just works out nice. So 289 is right about there. That's the y-intercept. The x-intercept, that's 22.18 is right about there. The min is negative 1.13, 270. It's very close to the y-intercept. The max is at 13, I'm almost done, 13.91, 1409, which is right there. Okay, so I have my x-intercepts, and so it goes like this. I'm going to go through here, up to the max, down to that, and then just go like this. Extend that. That's as good as it's going to get. And then their usual equation